I'm Lisa. The courtroom was freezing, not because of the air conditioning, but because of the heavy silence that carried years of pain and lies. Across from me sat my sister, Stella. Her hair was perfectly styled, her lipstick immaculate, but her eyes were empty. Her lawyer painted me as a bitter woman, a jealous sibling who used motherhood as a weapon for revenge. I sat still, not moving a muscle. Then, my lawyer stood up and pressed play. The video lit up the screen. There were party guests, laughter, and then a sudden, brutal push. My daughter, Lily's scream cut through the courtroom like a shard of glass. Steam rose from the cake, and Stella's voice echoed, "Oops, guess she can't handle a little heat." I could feel the shift. The weight of truth crashed into the carefully crafted lies. My father, Henry, sat in the back row, his face pale and his hands shaking. The judge didn't take long. Case dismissed. No merit. Counterclaims may proceed. But I didn't file any. Revenge, to me, wasn't about money. It was about memory, about taking back the dignity they'd stolen. Outside the courtroom, Stella tried to speak. I raised my hand. You taught me what cruelty looks like when it's dressed as tradition. And I will never let Lily inherit that. She lowered her eyes, and for the first time in her life, she was speechless. As we drove home with the windows down, the lavender tide in the rear view mirror swayed gently with the breeze. At home, Lily ran through the garden, laughing and unafraid. Inside, Jenna, the young mother we'd taken in, was baking a cake. This time, it was fully cooled, frosted with care, and decorated with marigolds. Lily leaned over and whispered, "No one's going to push anyone this time, right?" I smiled. Not ever again. Later that night, I sat in my mother's old chair. The violin she used to play rested beside me, and a candle flickered near her photo. I whispered, "They can keep the noise. We have the peace." But it wasn't always like this. My family was a mess. My father, Henry, was a cold and distant man. He always favored Stella, my younger sister. Stella was spoiled and cruel, always getting away with her misdeeds. My mother, Grace, was a kind and gentle woman, but she passed away when I was 22. After her death, everything changed. Henry took over the house, changed the locks, and tore down my mother's beautiful garden. He moved Stella in, and they lived there as if it was their own. I was left feeling like an outsider, even though I was the rightful owner of the house. Lily's 11th birthday was supposed to be a happy occasion. I'd baked a cake, and we'd invited family and friends. But Stella had other plans. While the cake was still hot from the oven, she smashed Lily's face into it. I heard Lily's scream before I saw the frosting bubbling against her cheek. The smell of burning sugar and skin filled the air, and the candles fell one by one. Stella laughed and said, "My bad," as she wiped icing from her nails. I held Lily, who was shaking, her cheek blistered red. Henry stepped forward, not to comfort Lily or me, but to put a hand on Stella's back. "She didn't mean it," he said. "She was just being playful. Stop overreacting." I looked at him, waiting for some sign of concern, but he just shrugged. "She's a kid. Let her toughen up." Stella smirked behind him, licking icing from her thumb. That was the moment I saw red. All the memories of being told to toughen up when Stella pushed, hit, or screamed at me came flooding back. We left without a word. There were no gifts, no cake, just silence and a cooling burn on Lily's face. Neither of us cried, but when we got home, I texted my grandmother, Rose. "Grandma, it happened again." Rose didn't reply right away. But at 6:42 a.m. The next morning, she showed up at their door in her floral robe, slippers, and a baseball bat. She didn't knock. She just walked in. I later heard from the neighbors that they'd heard a vase shatter. Some said it was a picture frame, but I knew Rose. She never missed her target. She swung the bat at the glass display shelf that Henry worshipped. Shards rained down like glitter. Stella screamed from the hallway. Rose didn't flinch. "I told you," she said calmly. "Touch Lisa's child again and I will shatter everything you love." Henry stepped forward, hands raised. "Mom, stop. You're being insane." Rose raised the bat again. "Don't you dare use that tone with me. You defended abuse on a child." Stella stayed behind the kitchen door, peeking out like a coward. Back at home, I wrapped Lily's cheek gently with aloe and gauze. She didn't say much, but that night she slept with the lights on and her teddy bear clenched like a shield. Rose came over later. Her knuckles were red, but her voice was soft. "I didn't touch them." The sound of that bat did the talking. Then she held Lily's hand. "You're not them," she whispered. "And I won't let them touch you again." Lily looked at her, and for the first time, there was a flicker of safety in her eyes. But I knew the war wasn't over. I knew Henry would spin the story, and Stella would post it on social media, and by morning, I'd be the unstable mother again. So, I made a plan. I pulled out a dusty envelope from my drawer. It was labeled with my name and held a secret that Rose had been hiding for 20 years. When my mother passed away, everyone assumed the house had gone to Henry. He certainly acted like it. But the truth was, my mother had quietly signed it over to me. Rose was the witness, and the document was legally sound, dated, and notarized. I called the county office and confirmed that the title was still in my name, never updated or transferred. They'd been living in my house for 15 years, mocking me from within the walls I legally owned. My hands trembled, not from nerves, but from clarity. I printed 3 copies of the eviction notice. One went in a bright pink envelope addressed to Henry, the second went to Stella's office with glitter and confetti, and the third I taped to their front door. The caption, written in red marker, said, "Eviction begins in 30 days." By noon, my phone rang. It was Henry. "Are you insane? You can't just do this." I leaned against the window calmly. "You've been trespassing on my property for 15 years. Consider this a courtesy notice." He stuttered and blamed everyone but himself. Finally, he said, "You wouldn't do this to your own family." I smiled. I didn't burn my child's face on her birthday. That was family. And I hung up. That night, I baked a small cake for me and Lily. There were no candles, no noise. She held my hand as I sliced it. Softly, she asked, "Are we safe now?" I kissed her bandage. "Not yet, baby, but we're getting there." By morning, the family group chat had exploded. Aunt Martha said I was unstable, and Uncle Tom said I needed prayer. Stella posted a photo of herself crying, with the caption, "Some people destroy their own blood for attention." But the comments didn't go as she expected. Someone replied, "Didn't you push a child's face into a hot cake?" The silence that followed was sweet. Henry showed up at my job later that day. He was wearing a gray suit, and his hands were shaking as he held an envelope. "I'm willing to buy the house," he said. "Let's settle this like adults." I looked him in the eye. "For 15 years, you let her treat me like dirt. Then you did the same to Lily. You're not buying peace. You're renting guilt." He slammed the envelope down. "There's money in there, real money. Think about your child." I smiled. "I am." And I slid his offer back to him unopened. He left in silence. That afternoon, Rose came over with a folded list. At the top were the things they'd taken: my mother's wedding necklace, the antique desk from her office, jewelry meant for me, savings bonds in my name, and the violin my mother played when I had nightmares. "They stole those things one by one," Rose said. "And I let them because I thought you'd never want to go back there." I held the list like a map, not for revenge, but for reclamation. I called a locksmith, arranged a formal eviction notice, and contacted a non-profit for domestic survivors. When they asked if I was interested in housing women temporarily, I didn't hesitate. Yes, I have space and stories. 30 days passed quickly. The official eviction notice went up, stamped, dated, and legal. Stella posted a TikTok crying in the living room, framing herself beneath my mother's old chandelier. The caption read, "She's destroying the house our mother built." I laughed because it was my mother who left the house to me. It was them who filled it with rot. 2 days before the deadline, I walked through the house room by room. The wallpaper my mother picked was still there, as was the coffee stain in the corner where she used to sit and read. But something felt different. The ghosts had stopped apologizing. They were waiting for justice. That night, I got a call from a shelter. A young mother, Jenna, with 2 kids, had nowhere to go. Could I take them? I didn't hesitate. Yes. The house is ready in 2 days. On the 31st morning, I returned with Rose and a locksmith. Stella stood outside with crossed arms and sunglasses on, as if hiding behind a brand could erase what she'd done. "You're displacing us," she spat. "You're ruining everything." I didn't blink. "You shoved Lily's face into a hot cake. You mocked her burn marks. You gaslit me. You stole from me. This isn't displacement. This is reclamation." Henry just stared at the front door, as if it would open if you wished hard enough. It didn't. The locksmith clicked the new lock into place. When they drove off, I didn't watch. I walked in barefoot and stood in the center of the living room. Lily stepped beside me, her eyes wide. "Is it really ours now?" I nodded. No more ghosts. No more yelling. Just us and whoever we decide to help. Jenna arrived 2 days later. She had 2 kids and 1 suitcase. Her eyes were tired, cautious, and half hopeful, just like mine used to be. I handed her the key. No speeches, no forms, just dignity. "This room gets the best sunlight in the morning," I said, opening the same window where Stella had once screamed at me for breathing too loud. Jenna didn't ask questions, but her silence was grateful. That night, I lit a candle in my mother's room. It used to be locked, but now it smelled of lemon oil and peace. I found the violin, stuffed in a plastic bin with a cracked rosin box. I held it like a memory that didn't need forgiveness. Then I opened the letter Rose had kept sealed for years. My mother's last words to me were, "If they ever turn my house into a prison for you, let it become a refuge for someone else." The next morning, Lily drew a sign and taped it to the front door. It read, "This house is for healing only. If you're here to hurt, don't knock." Jenna smiled when she saw it and offered to help repaint the hallway. We chose soft yellow. While we were painting, the doorbell rang. It was Stella. This time, her sunglasses were off, and her mascara was streaked. She looked smaller than I remembered. "I lost my job," she muttered. "They think I'm some kind of child abuser." I said nothing. She sniffed. "Do you feel better now?" I looked her in the eye, slow, steady, and unmoving. "No, but I feel whole." "That's better." She didn't step inside. The door shut behind her like a chapter finally closing. Inside, Lily played softly with Jenna's kids. Laughter bounced against the walls that used to carry screams. The cake burns were gone, but the lesson was still warm. Spring came early that year, or maybe it just felt that way inside the house. With every door left open and every meal shared at a long, repaired table, something thawed that had been frozen for decades. We planted a garden in the back. Lily chose marigolds, Jenna's youngest picked tomatoes, and I chose lavender, the scent my mother wore on Sundays and the scent that clung to the violin case she never let anyone else touch. Healing had become a routine until the envelope came. There was no return address, just my name handwritten in the same cursive Henry used on birthday cards I never opened. Inside was a photo of Stella in a courtroom, sitting beside a lawyer. She was suing me for defamation, emotional distress, and loss of employment. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was exactly what she'd do when she realized she'd lost control. I showed it to Rose. She didn't flinch. She's betting you'll be scared. She forgot whose name is on the deed. We prepared. We gathered screenshots, text messages, and the medical report from Lily's ER visit. Jenna offered to testify, as did a neighbor and the social worker who remembered how Stella had tried to twist the story. But the real weapon was a video I didn't know existed. From a birthday guest's phone, it was shaky and grainy but clear. Stella laughing, Lily crying, and the cake still steaming. I uploaded it to a private drive and titled it, "In Case They Lie." And now, here I am in the courtroom, watching as the truth finally wins.